I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna go to art school in San Francisco, like, love, pre-love, like whatever. And I get there and it's like a triple A Harvard accredited school, and they're like, you're gonna be writing 3 10-page papers a week, and it's super academic. So then I went deep into sort of the art theory, art history side of things. And, always with this idea that I was an artist, but they never gave me an education on anything professional. I didn't know how to make a CV. What's a CV? I didn't know how to do anything. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there isn't much of a job market for artists who study like performance art. There's not much of a market for that. So I did a lot of other jobs. I was assistants, I was nannies, I was waitresses. I did anything and everything I could to hold on and be in New York and pay exorbitant amounts of money just to have the privilege to once a week intern for free. Wow. So that's like how hard I was working just to sort of kind of be in the art world. And I thought I was an artist. I mean, I remember the first day of school, a teacher coming up to me and saying, this is pre-memes, by the way. Yeah. He looked at me, he must have been psychic. He goes, you're gonna be the next Barbara Kruger. Wow. Which I thought was kind of crazy and also like blowing up my ego, but I didn't know who Barbara Kruger was then yet, but I was like, she sounds amazing, Barbara Kruger. But then I found out about Barbara Kruger, Jenny Holzer, I learned more about Andy Warhol and Duchamp, and I realized I was like perfectly in line with these sort of, whatever. So, I continued my education a little bit more in Germany, a little bit in Sweden. And then, like I said, I came out, I finished, there was no job market for me. And so I figured, okay, I'm gonna go back to California, that's where I'm from. And at least I can be a personality hire. Like, I'm a daughter of no one, I wasn't born wealthy, I don't have anything, but, I can talk to a wall and I can sell them an Ed Ruscha. So, I sort of thought, okay, they're opening a Gogosian. I can't believe I can, with an A. And I was like, well, maybe that would be like my finishing school. So I moved back to San Francisco. I still had to work 2 jobs. Again, for the privilege to intern 3 days a week. But I got to see what a very strict but very well-oiled machine looked like, because all of my other internships were like artist run spaces, mid-tier galleries, like working as a registrar, and I didn't really know what like success looked like. And I saw the success machine, and there are beautiful parts of that and there are very ugly parts of that. So again, finishing school. And then a dear friend of mine, Derek Simons, came to me one day and he said, Hildy, I've been thinking about going to art school. But in America, art school is about $200,000. So he said, what if I took that money and I gave it to you and you opened an art gallery and I would work for you and you would teach me about art in real time. And I was like, are you joking me? Like this, am I tripping on acid right now? This is like the craziest, most awesome proposition that anybody had ever given me. And I was like, hell yes, like let's go. So we opened a gallery in Los Angeles and it was amazing. We scoured the earth for really cool artists.
What was the name of the gallery? Sorry to cut you off.
Hildy. And you know what's so funny? The house that we lived in, he even gave me the better room. Wow. And I was like, why are you doing this? And he's like, because you're the product. He's like, and we must like take good care of the product. I was like, I'm pretty sure the art is the product, but okay. And so we worked on this amazing project for 2 years. He was like the one keeping, we called him the sweeping monk. He was like keeping the walls perfectly white and sweeping and helping with the art handling. And I'm on the phone screaming, trying to sell art, like trying to build a network, just trying to replicate everything I'd seen. And we actually did okay.
Yeah.
We were doing okay. And then something happened. Sorry, this is a long story. But this is how Jerry was born.
Yeah, great.
On June 26th, 2018, I was in upstate New York, and I was officiating a wedding for my 2 best friends. And I was standing barefoot in the grass. And little did I know that I was bit by a tick, and I contracted a near deadly disease called typhus rickettsia that shut my life down for 1 year. I went blind briefly, I went deaf briefly, I couldn't use my hands, I couldn't use my feet. I was in a lot of pain, I was in the ICU, it was very, very tough, it was awful. So after that happened, Derek was like, the gallery's done. And I felt like I was like losing a baby or something. This was like my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, Hildy, in order for you to see, you have to go like this. And I saw one home. And let your parents take care of you.
Yeah.
And I was humiliated. I was 33. I thought my art career's over. It's never. When am I ever gonna get good luck like this again? When is somebody ever gonna say like, here you go, start a gallery, here's the money, just be creative, do anything you want. Like, when's that gonna ever happen?
Never does.
So I went home and I was in bed for almost 9 months.
Wow.
And on a lark one day, I'm laying in bed and I'm just like, okay, memes were not really existent yet. You could find memes on message boards, and they were usually made by 13-year-old boys. I want to be clear. My humor is rooted in the humor of 13-year-old boys. But I started finding these things called memes, and I was like, you could take any meme and replace the words, and you can make it about the art world.
Yeah.
So I started this Instagram account because I really thought my career's over. So time to tell the truth, and make a joke about it. Like, it wasn't like I wasn't angry. I was just like, my personal response is like, my coping mechanism tends to be humor.
Yeah.
So too much sometimes, where I'm like, Hildy, this isn't funny, which makes it funnier. Tell yourself it's not funny. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna just start making these jokes, making these memes. And I was anonymous. And to my surprise, I thought the account was gonna get 1,500 followers or whatever. It went viral very quickly in the art world. And then I was, after about 1.5 years, I was outed.
Yeah. Was it that short? It feels like it was such a long time before you lost your anonymity.
I mean, I still get messages from people going, sir. And I'm like, I'm a woman. I mean, you can gender me however you want, but people will go on my Instagram lives and go, I didn't know Jerry Gogosian was a blonde woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, I guess it's about how Instagram is still promoting more the memes than the person.
Yes. Right? Yeah, I did have a I had a little bit of a mental breakdown when my creative agency was analyzing, my account and whatever, and they're like, we just want to let you know that every time you show your face, your analytics drop by 78%. I'm like, are you look at me. But that's the truth. And I mean, Instagram has changed I get it. I'm represented by UTA. I get something that I'm happy to share. By the way, I'm not a gatekeeper. It's called Socially Relevant. It's a weekly report, and literally they tell me once a week, this is how Instagram has changed.
Yeah.
Because it's a cat and mouse game. The minute that they see that an influencer or somebody's making money, they figure out how to take it away.
Yeah.
So it's like it's always like chasing it. Luckily for me, at this current moment, I don't do Jerry Gogosian to make money.
Yeah. You grew out of it, basically. Different roles right now.
Yeah, and you go ahead and laugh, but I do it for love. It's true.
Love of the art market? Or
I love it all. I mean, it is the best reality TV show
For sure.
I have ever seen in my life. The characters are incredible. The stories are unbelievable. The crimes are beautifully executed.
Absolutely.
The false mythologizing in real time about like the importance of this genius, and then like the senior director moves to another gallery, and all of a sudden, now I represent geniuses. Those were not the geniuses, you know. And it's just like it's just this never-ending soap opera, and I love it so much. And like I love everything from the auction houses, and I love watching the auctions, and then I love like the art fairs and like the drama within the art fairs and the cities that have them, and like why did Frieze put their fair on top of Kiev in Seoul? Like, let's ask ourselves these questions. Like, you just see these crazy things, and you're like, this is the best thing in the world. There's nothing better. I've had I'm gonna brag here for a second.
Of course, please.
My former sister-in-law, who makes tons of money. She's the head of a hedge fund. Her version of like when she has time off is this like almost like Disneyland manufactured version of luxury.
Yeah.
And I tried to nicely explain to her, like, you do not know luxury until you are in the art world.
Absolutely.
Because there's nothing higher. There is nothing better. And you can be in a room with one artwork, and that is still a more exquisite experience than having a lawn chair at Eden Rock in St. Bart's.
Absolutely. It's the most exclusive party, as it's proclaims. That was one of the questions that I was going to ask you. I was going to ask, is there still anything you love about art? But yeah, we heard the answer. Everything.
Everything. And listen, whenever I make jokes or I'm critical, let me explain it. It's exactly like this. I don't know if it's like this in Turkey, but it's like this in America. With my brothers, like, we make fun of my mom, like, behind her back, constantly. Like, oh my God, did you hear what mom said? Like, my mom is so ridiculous sometimes. You know, and like, she'll say weird things like, does your lover make you, like we're just like, ugh, mom, you know, stop. But we can talk shit about our mom,
Yeah.
but nobody else can.
Yeah.
And I feel like that about the art world. Where I'm like, I will, you know, it to you guys and to everyone who got out of bed today and loves art as much or more than I do. We get to make fun of it. We get to see the humor in it. But ultimately, like, the joke is kind of for us,
yeah.
And it's not really for anyone else, because I'm, like, there's this guy right now on Instagram that really makes me angry, because all he does is he rips other artists apart.
Yeah.
His name is Justin Bua. And he just goes on people's accounts and will say, like, this person's gonna end up homeless, their art is so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, babe, that's not the joke. That's not the joke here. We're not here to rip each other apart. And whenever I talk to my editors or people that I work with, I'm like, remember, if the joke's gonna land anywhere, I'm the joke. Make me the joke.
Yeah.
But the joke is never meant to fall on the artist.
Yeah.
Ever, ever, ever.
Absolutely. I mean, I see a pattern that you're following, like mostly looking at fairs, auction houses, collectors, like galleries, and that's amazing because that's what makes it easy to talk about. But when it's on the artists, it's not so nice coming as you're an artist yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it comes at a great expense to be an artist, and I'm not just talking about money.
Yeah.
And then to go even further, and I mean, my version is much different than other people's, but to dare to even show your process online.
Yeah.
It's so sacred and so private.
Yeah.
And so to ever try to tear that down, even if it's bad, you can punch up.
Yeah.
You can make fun of Damien Hirst.
Yeah.
You can make fun of Jeff Koons, and you can make fun of Cos.
Yeah.
Because no matter what I say, I am not going to affect their market.
Yeah.
I'm just making them more money. But I would never punch down.
So you don't think that as a critic, you have you're one of the ringmasters of like bringing down like bigger names and making a joke of them?
No.
It doesn't affect it at all? Or has there been any cases where it has?
I don't think so. No. I had this question recently in a magazine article, and I'm not trying to be dismissive of what I've done over the years. I'm not being self-deprecating, but like, say maybe I have affected change, maybe, but it's going to be very slow. There's nothing that I have changed that like is overnight, because I'll get messages from people inside auction houses, inside blue chip galleries, inside whatever, and it's usually the people in the back of the house that are running things, and they're like, your jokes make our jobs bearable. So when it does, I don't think that Mark Glimcher wakes up in the morning and is like, let me check Jerry Gogosian to see how I can change pace.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think it's like that.
Yeah, obviously. It's a more long-term kind of push. And what the time has changed since you started and created this platform where people could talk and come together and, as you said, make their jobs bearable. Like, as gallerists, we used to look at your page and be thinking the same thing about that collector or that fair or this and that. So it's very relevant, and it's been giving people some voice to contribute and giving some insight as well, right? Before you've been in a gallery, and now you're getting all these tips. Mm-hmm. And are there anything that's shaking the world right now?
Yes. Well, the first thing I just want to say to every person in this room, regardless of what you do, and you could be like passively sort of an art lover, or you could be very passionate about it, or it doesn't matter. I heard something interesting recently that like rules are important, and everyone has to know the rules.
Yeah.
And then once you know the rules, you can break them. And there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. Fear is a construct that is placed in people's minds to keep them docile, to keep them following within the rules. And I see that in the art world constantly. And I feel like I interact, not with you, but like with some people who sound so disempowered when they talk. Yeah. And it breaks my heart. It hurts me to listen to them talk, because I'm like, you have all the power in the world. Yeah. Like, you can wake up tomorrow and like, you can change your life. Like, you can do anything you want. You're not like beholden to Phillips, or being a registrar at David's Werner, when really you feel like you're meant to be curating an exhibition at X, Y, and Z. Yeah. People shouldn't be afraid. This is art. I remember when I got into art, I went to an anarchist art school, my first school, so I thought the art world was going to be crazy. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I found out it's so conservative. Yeah. But you learn the conservative rules, and then you learn how to break them.
Yeah. Are there any ways that we're going to see that change? Because, you know, as you said, fear plays a great part. I mean, the fear of becoming unfashionable, or outdated, you know, or not being liked enough, or not having to sell enough. So it's actually a very important construct of the art world.
Yeah.
But how can that change? Like
Community. It's the cheesiest word on the planet. I can think of a few really overused words right now, but I'm not using it that way. No, community is so important. Every single person that's sitting in here right now, everybody in Turkey who's involved in the arts, listen, even if you have competitors, they're still Turkey strong.
Yeah.
You guys are still a team, you're still a community, and then your community it's kind of like the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
And then your community gets to go and represent what it is you're doing in Turkey.
Yeah.
So, you know, this like, oh, well, or would we not be liked enough, or would we not be sold enough? Like, you build your confidence by having this community and having all the confidence in the world and having so much love for each other. Even if you are competitors and you're like, oh, she's kind of, I don't really like her that much, but, you know, she's still coming and bringing it, using her time, her money, her, but it could be a man too, you know, and coming and doing these things, and it's super important. And the best place that I've ever observed this is actually Brazil. So
that united front, right?
In Brazil, it's super cool, and this is real. This is not like made up. All of the gallery girls, no matter what your position is, no matter which gallery you work at, once a month, they all go out for drinks. And this is real, and they share, because they know, like, why hoard clients? Like, she might have something that actually another one of her clients may want. And so they actually share information, they support each other. I know this to be a fact. This is real.
A lot of advisors in Istanbul, though, you know?
Well, invite
people out of their jobs.
Invite the advisors.
For the drinks.
But I mean, I think it's important to like share the community.
Yeah. That's, I guess, one of the important problems that Istanbul faces, like, to create that community. I think the younger generation are better adapted at that, but I feel like the previous generation of gallerists have always been competitors because they were the builders of that world. But that's great advice. And there are some gallerists among us who maybe take that and go for drinks every month.
Yeah, I mean, just like once a month and talk about what's going on. And it doesn't, I mean, oh my God, in London, there's something called OWIDA, which is the Association for Women in the Arts, which I'm a part of. And then in New York, there is nothing like that. And it is the craziest rat race. And you just see these women, it's a lot of women, like running themselves ragged and like competing so hard. And it's like, you could be sharing this because like all tides rise, all boats rise with the same tide, you know, like you could be sharing this success.
But I guess with markets like New York or London, they're so set in stone. It's hard to bring about that kind of change.
London also has a good community. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I know for a fact they do.
They come together and act out. Well, Istanbul is a city of unpredictability, and you know it's crazy. We have different headlines every morning, but I feel like we still manage to have a good community of the art world. We still manage to come together and kind of be closed off to politics a little bit. I don't know. I'll ask a few of you in a minute, but I feel like we managed to come so far. What is your take on Istanbul? How do you position it? I mean, from an outsider point of view, I'm really curious what you think about that.
Well, for some of you who may not know, after studying art for 7 years, I decided at the ripe age of 38 to go and get an executive MBA from NYU, which is so painful for the artist brain. because I'm taking, finance, microeconomics, macroeconomics, accounting, like doing people's like retirement funds, like just oh my god, I hate it so much. And they make us handwrite the equations, stats and data analysis, bell curves, z-scores, But what I really love so far, and I think this is where I will be able to apply this education when I'm done, is really studying microeconomics and macroeconomics. And when you look at a country like Turkey that has you're on the list, you're rather high up in terms of GDP, you're growing, you're developing like very rapidly. This place has changed so much since the last time I was here 12 years ago. I think that Turkey will begin to have a very important position because you can literally put one foot in Asia and one foot in Europe.
Or will it fall into the trap of becoming just another backdrop? Does it depend on, do you think, the gallery or the collector or the institution?
Well, let me ask you, and you can be honest or you can lie. Who are you intimidated by? Are you afraid of like Dubai or like what are we afraid of here?
Well, I don't think I have an answer to that. I mean, I don't have any fear, but I feel like I'm quite an outsider, even though I've been here for so long. But I feel like it's more about the vision or access to education that a lot of people are lacking.
Yeah, but look at like what South Africa has done.
It's incredible
recently.
example.
Like there are so Goodman Gallery, Southern Guild, like all of these, and it's small.
Yeah.
But they go to all the fairs or Mendes Woods out of Brazil.
Yeah.
Like these countries that I would sort of think are on the same level.
Yeah.
And they really brought it. They brought their artists. They educated people.
Yeah.
They stood proudly by it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a bit repetitive. Like every time I go to Southern Guild's booth, there's always a Zanelli in there. They have like a lot of the same artists, but who cares? They have really worked to educate the public.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, like, there's a permanent Zanelli sculpture outside of the convention center in Miami where Art Basel's held. And this is all relatively new.
Yeah.
So I think education is important and the stamina to do it. So like bring 5 other people who love it just as, so that you don't lose your voice and your strength. And educate. And at a certain point, it'll start clicking in international collectors' minds that like there's something magical happening in Istanbul.
Yeah. That's great advice. Do you think we'll see more of this decentralization, like you gave South Africa, Brazil, now India Art Fair? There are a lot, like Asia was a market that people bet on 10 years ago, which now we're seeing fall.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think in the foreseeable future we'll have more of that, like the market's kind of expanding in that sense to bring in like cities like Istanbul or other cities?
Well, you can only buy so many Jean Dubuffets before you're like, I am so sick of looking at this. And I know there's more art out there, and I think that, of course, this decentralization thing, the world is getting better at talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I think the fair, I have a podcast called Art Smack, and I bring on a statistician named Magnus Rush, who, we talk about the market a lot. And his biggest thing, and it is happening now, is he's like, it is incredibly unfair that galleries that are paying the same amount as these mega galleries are getting bad placement, because there's basically the Avenue of the Stars.
Yeah.
There's, all the mega galleries, and then you would go, or, Southern Guild would go, or somebody would go and pay the same exact crappy position on the second floor, back in the corner, and you're paying the same amount. And we know the market is down right now. I don't know if it's down here, like domestically, but we know globally the art market is down. I have come out and said if I owned a gallery, I would not do a fair for the foreseeable future. I would hold back on that. You know, you can read the UBS report that just came out. Claire McAndrews wrote. You can also read Art Basel said it itself, which is like crazy. I'm like, you guys are really fucking yourselves over by like telling people this. But like, all we have been in a recession officially, the art world, for over 3 quarters. That is how a recession is called. The market is completely down. Value in international work is coming down. So what I am advocating for is for people to bring the vibe back domestically. Like, build a bigger community. Find people who, maybe would, I don't know Turkish lira, so I'm just say dollars. But like, I do this thing called the 500 Project, right? That I started one day because I was laying on my couch and I was bored. And I was like, all right guys, I've got $500 and I want to spend it today. Send me what you got. And I got 3,000 submissions in 48 hours. It broke my inbox. I still don't get requests because I have like so many of these artists and I had to hire like admin to like help me organize it, whatever. But what's interesting to me is the art market is going through a correction. And I think what would be cooler, this is my opinion only, stop going to fairs for a while, for a year or two, because also that's how you're going to kind of bully them into changing their business model to give you guys better positioning. But take that money, and you don't even need to spend that. Think about how expensive an art fair is. You guys don't even want to know. Take that money and take a quarter of that money and invest that in parties, invest that in art that is maybe not so sellable, but is super important and cool and relevant and actually being made right now. Invite people in, find out what people are actually willing to spend. Not just the big mega collectors, because when we're addicted to the drug of art fairs and the 0.01% of the world, we're in big trouble, because guess what? Like, when pennies, when money gets tight, like art is the highest Veblen good on the planet. It's the people are going to buy a Birkin bag before they're going to buy a piece of art from China. I'm just kidding. From Hermes. But take that money, invest it, and find out who are these young kids. What would they spend money on? Even if it is, I don't know what $500 is here, but like maybe it's less, maybe it's more, maybe it's prints, maybe it's something that's more interactive. But bring the vibe back. Where it's not just a fucking, sorry, I curse. It's not just a white cue where you feel like you're going to the hospital and you have to whisper and you can't like get too close to anything, and everyone's working on their computer and they look up and then they look away from you. Bring the vibe back. Like, offer them a beer. Like, offer them some champagne. Like, let's get the party started. Let's talk about what this means. Why did this artist make this? Do you know this artist? That's what I would do.
It's so true, because we're going through this time where you're studying executive MBA, and the most important thing that the younger generation, or like the newer people that are coming into money now, they're more interested in experiences, this word, and like statuses, or they could post on Instagram or stories and all that, or to create memes. And for that, I feel like galleries and fairs have become less and less of a backdrop and becoming redundant in that sense. So, artists, of course, it's I guess you and I both got into art because we really, really love art. And that's a very important form of expression, and without that we'd be sick. But how to transform that into today's world?
Well, I think as the art world, we need to have like a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan.
Sure.
Because let me just like pose this question to you guys. Can anybody imagine somebody from Gen Alpha like wanting a Clifford Still? Like, or a Jasper Johns? No. I predict in the future.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a psychic here. I predict in the future, when everything is just a chip in our brain and we like twitch our eye, you're like, I want to live in Leonardo. Everything's going to go into the public domain.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to be like, I want to live in Leonardo da Vinci's world. And they're going to like click, 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 spread, boom.
Right.
I think the art market is probably going to disappear.
Yeah.
And I think artists are just going to, because we pathologically have this desire to create, and it's already happening online and in worlds that do not involve the traditional art market, where artists are just like open source technology.
Yeah.
I think a lot of art's just going to go straight into the public domain.
Yeah.
And then Gen Z, Gen Alpha, who, their amygdala development is questionable based on the use of their screens.
Yeah.
They're not going to have the patience for the quiet, slow medium of art.
No.
They're going to want something instant.
Yeah.
And they're going to, swipe through and then like, oh my God, I'm living in Van Gogh's world.
Yeah.
And they're going to do that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's like the 10, 15 year plan.
That's not too far.
But in the meantime, like, I see some good-looking millennials in here. I see some good-looking Gen Xers. Like, we're not gone.
Yeah.
We still love it.
Yeah.
And, like, there is a chance that, like, there's some weirdo, Gen Zs and Gen Alphas that are going to fall in love with it the same way that we did.
Yeah.
But we didn't fall in love with it because it was this cold, sterile thing.
Yeah.
10, 15, 20 years ago, when I went to Art Basel in 2005 for the first time, that's when I realized I was an artist. I changed my life. Is marijuana legal in Turkey?
No, but it's
okay. I took a little puff of marijuana. Okay, small. And then I went into like a tent and watched Vera Shaitilova's Daisies,
great.
which is an amazing movie. Psychedelic movie. Highly recommend it, especially if you're high. Then I walked into the fair, which the fair was nothing then.
All right.
$10 ticket. But I walk in, it's not busy.
It was raw.
But I see like men like in suits, and I see women in like cashmere pashminas and chunky glasses and like bat jewels on their hands, and I was like, I'm home. Like, this is my place. These are my people. I'm never leaving. Like, this is exactly what I want to do. This is where I want to be. And my favorite story from that was that I remember seeing Keanu Reeves. Do you guys know who Keanu Reeves is? Okay, right? Like, hot. And I remember that I saw Keanu Reeves at Art Basel, and what I couldn't believe and I loved watching was nobody was paying attention to him. And I was like, this is the world that I want to live in, where like they're negging Keanu Reeves because they're like so busy selling like, I don't know, a Rothko for $80 million. They don't give a shit that he wants to buy something for his sofa. And I'm just like, this is the coolest place I have ever seen. And then that night, I went to a party on the beach that was for Art Basel, and Peaches, you know what Peaches is? Okay, Peaches was performing. Great concert, everyone's feeling it, everyone loves it. At the end of it, she rips her clothes off on stage, runs naked into the ocean, and the entire audience followed her. We all ripped our clothes off, we all jumped in the ocean, and we all were naked, and we were swimming, and it was so much fun. And this is what I'm talking about. This is how you make people like art.
Yeah.
You don't like invite them to like a whispery thing where they get like a little bit of champagne and they stand there and feel fucking awkward.
Yeah.
That's not gonna make anybody fall in love with it.
Yeah. But I feel like at the same time, because now everything is, you can watch everyone, and you know, everyone is taking recordings on their phone. That kind of spectacle has become less and less possible because people are afraid now they're gonna get sued or it's gonna be turning into something ugly. So I feel like broadcasting and social media in the same time.
Well, I mean, all the chicest like private members clubs, also like really cool events that I've been to recently, like they take your phone away.
Yeah,
they fully take your phone away, or they put a sticker. You can cheat and like take the sticker off. But like I've gone to events where they like put it in a bag, zip it, put it in a locker, and they give you a key.
Yeah.
And then like all of a sudden you have to be there and you have to be present with other human beings.
You have to drink whatever you're given and go crazy.
I mean, we used to microdose people with acid at my art gallery, but that was a different situation. It was California. So I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so edgy.
I mean, there is still the possibility of doing that, but yeah, it's become a different world.
Yeah.
And I feel like Instagram or like people having access to, as you said, cheating and like really someone taking some footage and making it into a bad party has created so much fear that I feel like art world lost its fun in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to be fun in that world now? Like,
I don't know. I'm pro taking the phone away. I can't. I mean, I know I have friends who work at some of the most chic and elite hotels in the world, like chains that also have, a presence, maybe even here, I want to say. But they're having a big problem because their alcohol and liquor sales are completely down because Gen Z comes in, they buy a drink so that they can take a picture of the drink, take a picture of themselves holding the drink, and they don't even drink the drink and they leave.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. And there's this whole movement. I mean, this would be funny. You can bring this stuff to life, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can bring the internet to life. I like this idea. I'm making it up right now. But, like, there's this funny thing, at least in America, where Gen Zs will ask, like, what was it like to go clubbing in, like, 2006?
What's fun?
And then you're like, I wore these shoes, I don't know how. I came home hemorrhaging blood, but I felt nothing. I danced, I sweated, I grinded my body on strangers. I kissed like 5 people. I got blackout drunk on bad beer. And it was amazing, and it was the best time of my life. And these Gen Z kids were like, really? Like, you did that? And it's like, of course we did that. Of course we did that. So, I think like you could do that. I mean, fine, make them sign something. I mean, that's what celebrities do before they have sex with you. They're like, we need you on camera saying that you consent to this, and then like take the phone away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying, bring it back. Have a party. Create a vibe. Make it fun. Like, it doesn't have to be so uptight. You don't seem that uptight.
I'm not at all. And I come from that 2006 party. I went to that party.
I can't wear heels anymore because of that. Like, I think I like permanently destroyed my feet. I look at the scars like every day.
I mean, I'm still super happy with all those scars, actually. They were the best of times.
Yes.
But now, if you see kids in their sweatshirts, sweat forms, in their Balenciagas, just going to the club for nothing, and what is this? It's
Yeah.
like time travel.
I know. That's why people do drugs. But okay. What other questions do you have for me?
I mean, actually, I think we've covered a lot,
Yeah.
and it was quite fun.
Yeah. Well, art is fun, and I'm so glad that everyone in here. Okay, this is what I always say. Like, you guys could be doing literally anything else right now.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a Sunday.
anything else. It's a Sunday. I can think of a few things I would be doing. But you got up, looks like you took showers, put some nice clothes on, and you had the decency to sit here and listen to a mad woman who's obsessed with art talk to another mad woman who's obsessed with art, which makes you guys all just as crazy. And this is great. We need to be together, we need to stick together, and then we need to grow this.
Yeah. I think on top of my questions, we have a lot of collectors, artists, gallerists, we have press, we have architects, who are all like really incredible contributors to the art community in Turkey, each and every one of the faces that I know here. So maybe right now we can go around and ask a few questions.
Yes.
Okay, we have one.
Yeah, hi. My name is Jerry Gogosian, Alpelante on Instagram. I'm following you for years, I guess, back when you were doing this out of your
When I was a child.
Yeah. And, I'm into writing fiction, so I'm not really, like some of the things you talk about do not personally apply to me. But I did work in the art world back in 2000, between 2000 and 2005. And back then we did have a community. We had KDV parties every third Thursday, I guess, at Büyük Londra Hotel, and where artists and curators and everybody just came together. And back then there was no VIP rooms. I guess also back in the rest of the art world. And today I think like the big elephant in the room is artists can no longer live in Istanbul and pay rent.
Yeah.
This is impossible. Mm-hmm. Just yesterday I was with an art critic who's been writing at one of our few art magazines. He's going to be moving to a village where his father is from because they do own a house and he cannot afford the rent of an apartment in the same neighborhood his mother is. So right now we have a lot of privilege in the art world, but people like me who come from a normal background, like middle, like a bit similar to yours, I guess, lucky enough to get a good education, but not really privileged, have no chance of affording rent and making art, basically. So this is the big, for gallerists here, this is the reality. Like, I think what I would like to, what I really find inspirational on your account is that you come up with ways in which community and like $500 list, etc., people can come together to kind of survive. And I think this survival problem is so big right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, any suggestions you have, like ideas like artists in Istanbul can do to kind of keep going?
Well, okay. I mean, with the internet, thank God for the internet. I don't know where you plan on potentially moving.
I moved back to my mom.
How far away is
2 months
How
ago.
far away is that from Istanbul?
It's in Istanbul.
It's in Istanbul. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just when I was on the northeast coast, I personally didn't like the kind of constant attention that I oddly get in New York. It's very invasive for me. Like 7 a.m. in the morning, and someone's like, "Good morning, Jerry. What kind of coffee are you having?" And I'm like, "Leave me alone." So I moved to Connecticut. I lived in Connecticut, and I lived an hour and 20 minutes from the art world. And that worked out perfectly fine for me, because actually having distance, I'm not just trying to make you feel better. Actually having distance made me a better artist, because I wasn't so in it that I couldn't like
Breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Now, very sadly, I just got a divorce, which people kind of know on Instagram, because Matt used to be a co-host on Art Smack. And I sold my house in Connecticut, and I was like, where am I gonna go? I'm not moving to Gotham, aka New York, where that is so full of trash and danger right now. I'm not moving to Los Angeles where there's a fire every 2 years and there's tons of fentanyl addicts. And my mother tricked me because my mom's like, why don't you just come home to Miami just to relax and unwind and process things. And after like 2 months, I was like, Mom, I think I like this place. Like, what if I stayed? And she goes, oh, Bert, I have this building I want to show you. And then she like had my apartment planned for me. And guess what? My friend who lives in Wall Street and has a 900 square foot apartment pays $7,000 a month for this little closet.
Wow.
And I now live in a very spacious, very comfortable, very beautiful place, 4 minutes from my parents, and I pay $2,500 a month. And I really am trying to tell young artists, like, especially because they're connecting on the internet anyways, it's not geographically important anymore. And also, like, people like have this idea, like, move to New York, like, Soho used to be like so cheap because it's where all the old factories were. And then when industrialization left New York City, they were sitting empty, and that's when the artists moved in, and that's when Castelli came around and like this model started. Guess what? Soho's a shopping mall now. Yeah. Nobody can afford to live there. Everybody lives far out in New York boroughs, just like you're talking about. So no one can afford to live in these cities, period. And so I just tell people, don't even try. And unless you're, what is it, sadist, masochist? And you really want to torture yourself and live in like a little roach-infested hole for like a couple of years, don't do it.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
I mean, I think it's very similar to Istanbul. Like, we can compare Istanbul to New York in that sense because the figures you're mentioning, it's become very similar to Istanbul. It's become so hard to afford and for artists to survive, for galleries to survive. It's one question that it's on everyone's mind. Thank you. Next, Carol. She's a journalist from Die Zeit.
I really liked your saying to bring back the fun and also the idea of community. I think that's the base for a lot of things, and we should remind ourselves about this all the time. I was in Miami in 2005. I've also...
Did you go to that concert?
I did go to that concert. But also, I think looking at that from now, I know what you mean, but also, I mean, it's insane. Like those years, those early 2000s were insane. But also, not only the art market was different, the financial and the political landscape in the Western Hemisphere was very different. Yeah. And I think it's really important. I mean, well, I would be curious because if I look at, I watch the art market and the art world very closely, knowing it from 2005 to now. But I also think there's been so much stuff happening, especially in the last 10 years. Speaking of being more aware of diversity, abuse of power, like cases of Me Too, understanding also like what is the power structure and also what is the idea of like privilege when it comes to that very closed up world. And also you said we shouldn't have fear, but fear is a very real thing because also, I mean, class is an issue in the art world. A gallerina, you can say, don't be fearful, but she's going to lose her job, she can't pay rent. That's an actual fear, I think. Plus, above that individual, I think, power games that also were exposed. This is also why I loved you for it, kind of following your work. I was saying, like, I feel like I know you for like 10 years, but it's actually been like 7. To witness that and also you calling out the establishment, I like that. I think it's important to also point that finger in that wound. And now I'm an optimist too, and now you gave a very optimistic talk about what we should do. At the same time, I really think so much stuff has happened, and that also was exposed, but at the same time also a backlash occurred. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think the discussions also we had about like diversity, racism, sexism, they're not the same as they were like 5 years ago. Everything is kind of reeling back. If you look at MoMA right now with Trump about the big museums in New York, I mean, the conversation becomes tighter. Do you worry at the end of the day, or are you just keeping on that fun train? Or what do you think when you look at that, especially knowing it for so long?
Well, I'll go back to like, and I'm sorry if this annoys you. We can hug it out after. Yeah. But like I don't believe in like being afraid, because all of this stuff comes in cycles. It's happened more than once. I've seen the entire art market sort of crash in 2008. It's like I've seen it happen like 4 times. I've seen big market corrections. I've seen people be like, it's over. Like the art world is over. Everything is ending, you know. And the reason that I'm a big believer in the whole like have no fear is something that defies logic, and I can admit that, which is that I have faith. And I have faith in, you can call it God, or you can call it the universe, or whatever. And I can't, do you know that before I started my gallery, I was fired from every job I ever had. Because I was not supposed to be doing those jobs. And
but that's a little bit this like Kim Kardashian moment where it's like you just need to get your ass up and work. I feel like it's a little bit like unrealistic to attain that for everyone. Right?
Yeah, but you have to be thick-headed. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to believe, like there's all these memes right now going around. I'm like, hey, who got the same idea I do? Which is like, you've got to be delusional. Yeah. You've got to be so delusional that you manifest the reality that you're meant to have. And
that's today's world.
It is delusional. How do you explain me? Like there's no comp. Trust me, I've worked with UTA, Gone Creative, all these like big agencies, 291 agency. They use very expensive software to try to figure out like who's a comp to me, how can you describe what I am, et cetera, et cetera. Guess what? There isn't. And it's because I have been so delusional for so long that I actually carved this thing. And I remember the last time I got fired from a job, I laid on the ground. It was in the middle of the pandemic. I needed that money. I probably had, $2,000 in the bank account. And I laid on the ground and I sobbed and I like grabbed the carpet and I was like, God, I will do anything that you tell me or you show me I should do, I will do it. Just let me follow the path that I'm supposed to be on. Listen, I'm not dogmatic. I don't have a religion. I just have Delulu and I have faith. And it was crazy because all of a sudden I got the check that everybody that was getting during COVID. And I got the backup because I hadn't gotten it the whole time. Wow. So the next day I wake up, I have $28,000 in my bank account. And I'm like, the Delulu is working. And listen, I do believe in manifestation. I do believe in having faith. And if that sounds a little too esoteric and annoying as an answer, I'm sorry.
No, it's so fine. Can I ask another question? What is your political belief?
About what?
Well, where do you politically put yourself?
Well, okay. So because I'm in business school, because I'm in business school, and I've taken macroeconomics, I understand that it's better to be fiscally conservative and socially liberal. That's kind of where I sit. I'm not MAGA, in case you were worried about that. I know some artists who are in secret, just like I know some collectors who are, just like I know some dealers who are. I think politicians are kind of all scam artists, and they're all living in their own delulu. So I'm not, I was really big into Bernie, and I cried really hard when he lost the primaries, and I thought he would have been an amazing person to run the country. But Yeah, I'm moderate. I'm moderate. And I think right now we need to be brought together. And I don't think that swinging really hard in either direction brings us together. It creates an awful division.
Yeah. Another